There are two things that truly mystify me. Why so many broke people out here in LA choose to have multiple pets, and how beginners can really start to learn how to solo on a guitar. So today we're talking about guitar soloing, and we're gonna start off with a looper pedal because I think every guitar player should have a looper pedal, whether they wanna learn how to solo or not, because it's also the easiest way to demonstrate a lot of things, okay? So what I'm gonna do first is I'm just gonna lay down a real simple loop. And I wanna start off by saying this video is sponsored by Donna. We're gonna talk about that later. They sent me this guitar, the DMT 100, and also the Arena, which we're gonna use as our looper pedal and multi-effects pedal. So before I loop it, the best thing I want to talk about, maybe the number one reason, is if you just like hear that hiss coming from my amp, you can get rid of that just by pressing this noise gate button. Listen to that. If this isn't the number one reason to buy this pedal, noise, no noise. Amazing. All right, so let's get to this loop first. I want to loop an A minor to an E minor chord because these are really some of the first chords that you ever learn as a beginner guitarist, right? Open A, 2D, 2G, 1B for A minor, and then open E, 2A, 2G, open, open, open for E minor, okay? So the easiest chords you could do. Now we're gonna loop these and then we're gonna talk about how you can solo over them and just some cool methods and tips and tricks you can use to solo, right? So I'm going to press the loop function here, and then as soon as I do that, it brings me into the loop menu where I can start and stop right here. So I'm gonna do this. A minor, E minor. Okay, so now I have this loop going over it, and I wanna be cognizant of where the A is and where the E is, okay? Now, there's a lot of different ways that we can start to do this. The first thing that I want to do is actually take an arpeggio of each chord and play those over them very simply, okay? So I'll start it again. So basically what I'm doing is I'm in time just playing the notes in that chord. Now this is a really easy way to start. It's gonna get more complicated as we go through this video, but all I'm doing is I'm taking the notes of these chords. A minor is an A, a C, an E, and the E minor is an E, a G, and a B, okay? Now there's a shape that we can learn, there's a couple shapes that we can learn to give you these notes every single time. For the A minor, we're going open A, 3A, 2D, 2G. In fact, most of these notes are actually in the chord. After this, we're gonna do some more complicated shapes that are a little different further down the neck, but we're starting very simply. Okay, so open A, 3A, 2D, 2G, backwards, okay? Then the exact same thing starting on E. A minor, E minor. Okay, so that's as simple as we can make it. Now the great thing about this is when you locate other root notes, you can do the same thing in different places on the neck. So what I mean by that, let's find these exact same notes in a different position. The 5th fret on the E string is the same as open on the A string. So we can do this. Okay, so right here it's 5 to 8, 7A, 7D, 7A, and back. So now this shape is the same as open, but there's something about fretting an entire sequence that I think sticks in your mind a little better than using the open strings to help out. So now once we have this, we can move this all over the place. We can just find another E. Like let's go to the 7th fret on the A string. That's an E, right? Do that same shape. Okay, it's just a note, 3 frets higher, a minor third is what that's called. Then kind of this diagonal back one down a string. So we can do the same thing and add that to the chord. noticed, by using the fretted notes, I can arrive there differently. I went like this. Slid into that E. So in fact, we could maybe do that with an A. Let's find a higher voice of that same thing. So here's the 12th fret on the A string, open A, 12A. We do that same shape. And again, we have a root note, 3 frets higher, so 12 to 15. Then diagonal back, down. There's the exact same thing as we did on the E. So now I can add these to that shape again. A to E. Let's start on the higher A. Or open, open. We can do both. And then eventually you can start to combine them into different ways, right? So I'm taking one shape, I'm taking it off a root note, and then I'm moving it around. Again, I love the noise. Why am I so excited about a noise gate and a multi-effects pedal? That's just, again, the Donner Arena is like a really powerful multi-effects pedal, and I just opened this guitar, like they sent me this. This is such an inexpensive guitar. Check this out. Thank you to Donner for sponsoring this video, because this is like some really cool gear that is very, very affordable. So there's an affiliate link in the description if you guys are interested. But I'm so stoked on that noise gate and also with the looper function. We'll go through some more stuff in a bit, but I did want to pause and mention that just because it's so good to have a noise gate in your chain and not have to have, like, here, let me turn that off. That constant buzzing, which again, that doesn't mean it's a bad guitar. I have super expensive guitars that have that same buzz. It's just, this is something you have to deal with unless you have a noise gate in your chain, okay? So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take that same shape, but we're gonna play the second note in a different position, okay? So let's go back to the 5th fret on the E string. Remember we want. Now what I wanna do is I wanna play that next note, that minor third, 5E to 8E is A to C. I wanna play it like this. Okay, so this is essentially the same thing, but instead of playing that C on the E string, I'm playing the C on the A string. And that's gonna open up a couple different pathways for where we can travel, all right? So we can play the exact same thing, like this, okay? And then the nice thing about this is we can lead with our ring finger now, and that lines up your pointer finger to play the minor third here. So even though we're thinking about playing the same note, we're doing it in a different way that sounds more like a solo, right? Because now I can slide into it, get right into the next one, slide into the next one, okay? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add another note along the way. See how I'm getting that 5th fret, 5E, 3A, 5A to 7A, and then we're gonna do the same thing on 5D and end on the octave. So how many notes is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then an octave. So it's almost like a mini scale. What's another note for a 5-note scale? 5, pent. It's a pentatonic scale, right? Same thing as playing. But now we're playing it in maybe a smoother way. It's really just the minor pentatonic scale because we have root note, a minor third, and then a minor 7th. So it creates this kind of like diamond shape again, because I'm thinking of, you know, I'm on the 5th fret on both the E and the D strings, and then I have the 3rd fret and the 7th fret on the A string. And again, anytime you see a minor chord, you can use this shape, and it's something that you can really kind of rip through pretty quickly. Think of a root note, and then apply that shape. All right, so there's our A. For the E, there's that 7th fret on the A string. Remember, we were doing this. So now I can add the stuff between my A minor chord or pentatonic scale. See how that lined me up right from A to E? A, E. And again, you know, usually when you make a loop, the chords are going to be in the same key. So there are always ways to connect the dots with each of them. So let me go back to the looper pedal here. And then I can just see how now I can play or stop or erase or just go back out to the main effects, which we'll talk about in a second. But let's play the phrase again. A to E, right? So A. See how many cool different things that you could do thinking of the shape? And again, a couple times I stayed within the shape, but I stopped playing it in order. And that's where it gets really fun. So if you have learned the pentatonic scale before as a form all through 6 strings, this is a really great supplement to get into that, okay? In fact, let me just play something with an A minor in it. We're not gonna move, all right? So I'm gonna hold this middle button here, and that's gonna clear my loop. And now I'm gonna do another A minor loop, right? A. So now I've got this loop on just a regular A minor, okay? I can go through. You probably know that shape, right? That 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. But now we can get into that a little smoother. And see how kind of like moving around adds a little bit of musicality to that? I'm not playing anything that we didn't already talk about. What I could do though is I could add stuff from that E minor pentatonic that we did before. Remember on the 7th fret of the A string? Because these are in the same key. So A, E, octave A, pentatonic. So a lot of different ideas going on there, but it's ideas that like once you kind of see, they're easier to break down because we're just doing that shape or an octave higher, or we're doing the shape that you probably already know but don't really know how to use proficiently yet. And then just going through all the different things, right? One other cool thing that you could do is maybe add some kind of effect to it. That's what's really cool about this multi-effects unit right here. It's not just looper, it's not just noise gate. It does literally anything that you'd want to do. In fact, you can set the loop with this FX edit button right here. We can kind of just scroll through them. See if I just move this wheel and then I can press this. Right now it says exit, it's green. So like I can change what this does. So if I like scroll back, we can actually make it reverse, right? Which is just kind of a cool thing, just a quick demonstration on this. So now if I play it again, and then I hit this, it kind of has this cool backwards. And then flip it again, forward. So again, I think that's kind of just a fun thing that you could do to like make like an intro if you're doing it live or whatever. What I like to have here actually is I make this the FX exit button. So as soon as I have this playing, I can exit out of it and go back to my main stuff. And then if I hit this button, I can go to a different setting that has a bunch of effects on it. Screwed that up. And then if I want to, I can just go back into the looper pedal and then hit stop. But again, playing around with effects is one way to kind of keep yourself engaged a little bit more and just kind of have more fun, right? But again, for the purpose of this video, I want to keep it clean. You'll notice that I left the patch and came back, and my hum is back. What the heck? So really easy to fix that. Let's put that noise gate back on, and then I'm just gonna go to store, and then right there, I just want to store that. We'll keep the same thing. Do I want to save the current preset? Yes. And then now when I switch back and forth, you see the noise gate is just gonna stay there. So really easy to kind of make patches, edit it, all that cool stuff. Thanks again, Donner, sponsoring the video. Let's talk more about how you can follow your chords around in a loop section just by outlining arpeggios, all right? So let's take something the next step up. Let's do a major chord. Let's do my favorite major chord, major 7, okay? So it can be a really easy chord voicing. In fact, if you just take a C major and then open up that B string, we're adding a B to the chord, making a C major 7, right? Now, I'm gonna make it a C major 7 chord voicing like this, which is the 3rd fret on the A string, the 5th fret on the D string, the 4th fret on the G string, and the 5th fret on the B string. And then I'm gonna use this as a movable shape to go from C all the way down to F, okay? So again, this is just the 3rd fret and a shape, and then the 8th fret and a shape, okay? So outlining a chord with an arpeggio is so important because every chord that you learn, you should know the accompanying arpeggio, because then you can play something over literally anything that you'll ever, any piece of music, because any music can be broken down into chords. Even if they're all single notes, you can put a chord behind it. And then seeing an arpeggio, just breaking that chord down one note at a time, is such a great way to kind of just understand music, right? So for major 7, let's take it off of here, the C, and let's do it a little out of order. This is like a lick or a riff that I always use. Okay, tried and true Sean Daniel patented lick, right? We're gonna climb up the chord, and this is really easy because it's just the dotted frets that you're gonna use, 3, 5, 7. Again, remember, we already used all these notes when we did the A minor pentatonic. We're just using them in a different context because we're starting on a C. So we're starting on like right there. So all this stuff connects, which we're gonna demonstrate in just a second. So 3, 5, 7, and this lines up your pointer finger with 5 on the D string. Then we're gonna go straight down another string, 5 on the G string, to 4 on the G, right? Which there's our major 7, which is again such a beautiful sound. So, and then we're gonna go back to the D string, 5, 7, 5. Okay, so all those notes can be outlined with one arpeggio. Same with the F. If we have it on the 8th fret here, we do the exact same thing. So now let's make a loop. Go back into the looper, right? Just press that right there. And then, did I erase this? Let me look if I erased it. All right, cool, I already erased it. So let's make a new one. C major 7 to F major 7. To F. F. C. F. See how easy that is to follow along with an arpeggio? So now let's take those two chords, These also happen to be in the same key as A minor and E minor. So let's do another loop where I add those to the end of it, right? So I erased that loop before. So let's try on C again. To F. A minor. To E minor. Then back to C. A. E. C major. F. A minor. E minor. But they're all in the same key, so I go A. E. C major 7. F major 7. A. Minor. And do you see how all that worked? Like, even though I was, speaking and vocalizing what I was playing, and I might have been playing a different chord's arpeggio over the chord that was playing in the background, the cool thing is it all fits together because it's in the same key. So that's why you really want to learn which chords go in a key and then how to arpeggiate all of the chords within it. And I think getting a Donner DMT 100, look how pretty this guitar looks. You kidding me? This looks great. This will look great in a thumbnail, I'm sure. And then having like a pedal like this. And again, I've done another video on the Donner Arena. There's a lot that it can do. Trust me, I'm just barely breaking the surface. It's got drum machines, it's got a tuner, it's got everything that you could ever want in a guitar. So you just hold that button now. Now you got a tuner right here. Looks like oh, it's because I turned it down. There we go. Look, spot on tuning that whole time. There we go. But yeah. And then look. I went back to the I'm going to go through every patch and put that noise gate on because again, I'm just a huge sucker for noise gates. Maybe that's the lesson here. That's the lesson here that we've all learned, that if you're broke, don't get another dog, get a noise gate because the noise gate you only have to pay for once and then it helps you out for the rest of your life. So thanks again to Donna for sending the gear over, sending the swag over. Let me know if you have any questions. If you want to learn more stuff like this, check out my Patreon. I have like a whole, like hundreds of lessons that is like from your absolute beginner, your absolute first lesson, all the way up to being like, an intermediate high level player. It's all organized with a bunch of song lessons too. So check out the Patreon, get yourself some Donner gear, and I will talk to you guys later.